Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now is Kachi Ofia to catch stories trending around the world. Hello, Kachi.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. Good morning, Layla. You look stunning. And of course, good morning, Rafai. We're kind of like,
How are you?
matching on the ties.
Yes,
a little bit of elements of my outfit.
There is a bit of a color blend.
Yeah, there is. I love it. I love to see it. Yes. All right, good morning to you viewers. Let's take a look at some of the stories that are trending across the globe today. We're going to begin with the South African composer who met Meghan Markle at the Lion King premiere in London. Now, this composer is actually saying that he cannot remember speaking to Meghan Markle about Nelson Mandela at the event. Now, if you remember earlier this week, we spoke that Meghan Markle had claimed in her interview for The Cut that she had been told by a South African at the Lion King's London premiere that South Africans rejoiced over her wedding to Prince Harry, the way they rejoiced when Nelson Mandela was freed from jail. Now, the only South African cast member of the Lion King, Dr. John Carney, yesterday basically denied that it was he who made the controversial remark. So if he was the only South African there, the big question is, who told Meghan?
Rafai's going to come and tell me, Layla, you see, I told you so.
Rafai, honestly, you did call this, though. You did.
Yes, now, and see, I know Piers Morgan has his own wahala and all of that. I'm not a big fan as regards, what he said, to people of color, and I was handing Meghan when that episode happened. But to a large extent, there's some truth in the fact that Meghan is doing everything to seek popularity and the likes, and she's doing it a little bit too much.
Yeah.
So obviously now Meghan will have to come out and tell her who told that. Since the person she met on the cast has said no, except we'll just believe that Meghan was just lying to toot her horn. And it goes back to all the things, Piers Morgan used to say, all of them, some of them were hurtful, most of them were hurtful, I admit, but it's not making anything better for us. I mean, why would you even say such a thing? And you dropped it subliminally in an interview.
Yes.
And say somebody said, when you say somebody said, it's also a way of, it reminds me of the school of thought from Trump's book now. Donald Trump will always do that by saying, oh, people say I'm very great. I did this, I did that. But it means invariably you saying this about yourself.
Yeah.
So it just calls into question what Meghan truly stands for.
Honestly, I have to be honest.
And she should be careful.
It's really scary.
Now the blowback is going for South Africa, not longer the English tabloid again.
The problem is kind of like, I'm sorry, it's like, even if someone said that to you, right, you'd think about it and you'd ask yourself, is this the kind of thing that I repeat?
Yes.
And I think for most people, the answer to that would be, no, I'm not too comfortable repeating that. So for me, where I find it a bit difficult is in, even if it was said to you, I'm not going to dispute it because I wasn't there. Even if it was said to you, why was that okay to repeat? But I don't like to delve into this one too much because,
Okay, the last time we discussed this, I said Meghan Markle has been described as the Duchess of Deceit.
Yes.
And the Duchess of Manipulation, who is at best just seeking attention. Okay, and on this comparison of our wedding to the prince, to the release of Nelson Mandela from prison, Nelson Mandela's grandson, Mandela Mandela, has already said, no, you can't compare the two. Now, the persons who were at the event, Lebo M, the composer of The Lion King, and also Dr. John Carney, both of whom met her and her husband, they've said, they never said such a thing. In the case of Lebo M, he said the encounter was even so brief, he couldn't have said any such thing. So, very bad PR, for the Duchess. And, it's most unfortunate. But she is most likely to come around and play the victim again, characteristically. Now, it's because they don't like our existence. That's why everyone is against her. And that's maybe delusional, and she just has to be careful and try to pay attention to her image, not just in this instance, but also in previous instances, the podcast with Serena, which I referred to earlier on.
Honestly.
But, okay, maybe when you gain attention with a lot of notoriety, maybe it has its own advantages for some people.
Maybe it does, but for a person like Meghan Markle, who a lot of people look at as a beacon of so many things, especially within the mental health space, stories like this for me are very toxic because it just goes to show how you could twist things around when you have power. When meanwhile, for some people, these are real issues. Being victimized is a real problem. Being, attacked by the media is a real issue. But when you try to twist that in a way and come up at, it's just really, really toxic to think about. But let's talk about another situation.
Her father was correct.
Right? It's scary.
Come on.
No,
Let's
really.
not bring her dad into this. The fact that you can have a parent that is that against you is enough to show that person just shouldn't be in your life to begin with.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a stretch, Rufai.
There's another title in that regard. I almost lost my dad.
Yeah.
Which came out of this interview. But it was clarified by one of our staff that she was referring to her own dad and not to Prince Charles.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about the story. I have to be honest, when I saw this video, I literally had to hold back tears. Now, we all remember the widow who was tied and flogged by her community members over claims that she, is a witch, allegedly. Well, she has been hospitalized. And following up on that story, the human rights activist who brought out her plight to the public space, Gwam Nishu Harry, has basically shared a video of her with her daughter in the hospital. And she goes by the name Mrs. Okechi. Remember, she was being flogged by young men in her community. This was in Umwegu, Mpabende local government area in Abia State. Now, he's saying that, this woman was tortured because her late husband's brother's wife accused her of being a witch. Now, I can't get over this story, and the reason I keep bringing it to the fore is because I really just want to hear that the people who did this have been arrested and they've been made to face the full consequences of their actions. Look, even this video even makes the situation worse. Looking back on how this woman, you would think she had killed somebody's child. The way she was tied behind her back and just flogged. Now, looking her in the hospital crying, her daughter consoling her, it's really heartbreaking to see.
Well, just again to commend the First Lady, Mrs. Sikwiazu, right, who intervened, the representative of the constituency in the State House of Assembly, and all the persons who moved in promptly to rescue her and ensure that, she's receiving medical care. But a promise was made at the point she was rescued that this will be investigated. And we hope that the police, in investigating this, will bring those persons who assaulted her, brutalized her, dehumanized her, to justice in order to serve as a deterrent to others who equate widowhood with witchcraft, which I think is, very poor stigmatization, very unfair stigmatization, which exists not just in one part of Nigeria, but I guess, in many parts of Africa. The third point is that maybe Mrs. Okechi may need to receive further assistance from the NGO led by the First Lady and also perhaps the state government in case she's willing to relocate from that community. Because, our traditional communities, once you are stigmatized, sometimes that stigma never goes away. There will still be that whispering campaign. You are going around and saying, see that witch, see that witch. Do you understand? So maybe for her psychological health and all of that, she may probably need to be assisted to relocate, maybe from the immediate community or to another community entirely, because Africans are victims of their own superstition and delusions.
That's true.
Really sad just seeing that video of her crying with her daughter. Thanks, Kachi.
Thank you so much. That's all what's trending. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. We'll take a short break now, and when we return, we'll be talking to Governor David Umahi, the governor of Ebonyi State. Stay with us. We'll be right back.